Okay, so sweet. We are here with Laura, and Laura has an amazing story that I love to tell. Laura has lost 37 pounds in the last few months. Actually, it's mostly has happened in the last few months that I started working with you, and I want to tell a little bit more about your story because it's quite an interesting story. You have a partner, Caesar, who just won the summer challenge as
Yeah.
well, and so he's also getting some amazing results. And I want to know a little bit how both of you have been able to do that. But before we get to that point, I do want to talk a little bit more about a little bit about you and your childhood and how you grew up, and just to get to know Laura a little bit more. So, welcome. Thank you for
Thank you.
being here.
Thank you for having me.
And let's go.
Okay.
So who is Laura? Tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a mom. I'm a wife, a mom of three, and I grew up in Santa Cruz. Well, I'm from Mexico originally, but I've been here since I was 5. I grew up in Santa Cruz and went to school there. I lived my whole life there until 4 years ago when we moved here to Watsonville. And I've been here ever since. And I honestly really love Watsonville. I never thought I would, but I really do. I
All
don't think
right.
I ever go back.
Hold up. What do you love about Watsonville?
It's, how can I say it? It's like as free as being in Mexico. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sure people can understand. Santa Cruz is like, it's it's nice, but it's busy. It's uh, I don't know. They're just so different.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting. So what? So you grew up in Mexico up until what age?
5.
5, and then so you spent most of your time here in the
Yeah.
states. Both of your parents are obviously immigrants. What did your parents do for you when you were growing up?
Work wise,
Hmm.
my dad has always worked in restaurants. My mom worked in hotels, and then my mom became had to become a stay at home mom, and my dad still works at restaurants now.
Okay, so they were always in the hospitality
Hmm.
service. Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a older brother. I mean, a younger brother and a younger sister.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what do they do?
My brother manages a store in Felton, and my sister is a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, right on. And
Yeah,
what do you do?
I'm a secretary at Harbor High School.
Okay.
Yes,
Is that something that you've been doing for a while, or what's been like your work history overall?
I think I've been there for 3 years. This is my third year at the high school, but before that, I have my own small house cleaning business, and I still do that on my free time, kind of. And then I used to work at a restaurant before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me one sec.
Okay.
Checking my hit record. I almost forgot I hit record. So okay. And then so now growing up, what was that like for you? How was school? I know you said that you have some siblings, so I know one of the things growing up for me in particular was learning the language. Obviously, English is a second language for us. What was that like? What was school like? Were your parents very strict on school? Were they not so much? Were they always working? What was that like for you?
I English wasn't hard for me. I don't remember having a problem with language. I think I was so young that it just became naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like smaller or younger kids, it's really easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I am the older one, and I feel like a lot was placed on me because my parents were always working. I would have to take care of my sister, take care of my brother, and then help my mom with whatever she needed at the house while she went to work. And then um, just I felt like I grew up too fast. I didn't get to enjoy being a kid. And honestly, like as soon as I started having to take care of my brothers and sisters, I started gaining weight, and I feel like ever since then I've had problems with weight.
So, at what age was this?
Probably like 5th grade, like 12,
Okay.
around
So
12.
it's something that you've dealt with for most of your
Hmm.
life. Now, did you play any sports while you were there, or were you always taking care of your
I was
siblings?
always taking care of my siblings.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what after high school? Where did you end up doing? Where did it take you?
So after high school, I actually ended up moving in with somebody. I feel like I felt like I needed to escape from so much responsibilities, from like from responsibilities that weren't really mine, and I found it easy to just, I couldn't take care of myself because I was only 18. You know, I wasn't able to like pay for my own bills or pay for my own house to get out of my parents' house. So I decided to start living with somebody that was like almost 10 years older than me. And I went from high school to there. And then I had a baby. And I never had a time to discover who I was, to really like know what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. I just kind of went straight to, I guess, what was easy, or what I thought was easy, or what I thought was gonna make me happy. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be tough. I think we see it a lot in our Hispanic culture in particular. I can speak for my sister as well, my oldest sister, similar story. She was the oldest one, obviously, out of all of us. She was the one who took care of most of us. And it seems, now that you tell your story like that, it's very interesting because I never thought about this, right? Our sister ran away at age 17, I believe, and obviously with somebody 10 years older as well. Pretty cool how this is happening. And one day she just went out, threw out the garbage, and then she never came back.
Oh, wow.
Pretty interesting. Just left us there. We were just like, all right. It was a very difficult moment for us. But yeah, maybe that's exactly what she was going through as well. And now that I look at her, similar situation. Like, it just seems like she never had an opportunity to grow up. And when I look at her, sometimes it's like seeing this little child and seeing this little girl again, that just wants to flourish, but is having a difficulty because of all the responsibilities she has. And obviously she has 3 kids as well. So I can relate in that sense. And now that you mention it, it's really interesting, and it's really cool to see you now. Fast forward however many years it's been, making a run for it. And I know we've had these conversations before, and it's really cool what's happening right now, because I can visually see it, and I'm watching it every single day, just seeing you transform, not only physically, but mentally, and the impact that you have on your partner, the impact that you have on your friends. Everybody can see it, and it's pretty amazing. So tell me a little bit about so you had a baby, right? And then what happened after that?
And then nothing really. I was a stay-at-home wife for a few years, and then all of a sudden I went back to work because that's not who I am. I'm not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm a very active person. I like to do a lot of things. I like to be outside. I like to talk to people, and being at home with just my child was just not enough. So I did go back to work, but then a couple years after, I had another baby. And with my second child, I did stay at home for a little bit, but then I went back to work. I wasn't able to stay. Mentally, I wasn't able to stay home again for another year or two. So after having my second child, I kept working. I was with my partner then for 10 years. And then I decided that that's not what I wanted anymore. I looked at myself and my kids, and we weren't happy anymore. We couldn't talk to each other anymore. We couldn't be in the same room. So I made the decision. And it's probably one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, just because it didn't only affect me, it affected my children as well. And obviously they're my number one priority. And I just thought, you know what? I can't be a good mom if I'm not happy. And I can't be a good mom if I'm always arguing, if they're always seeing it. So I finally made the decision to leave their dad and become a single mom.
What was that transition like? Obviously, once again, we see a lot of single moms in our culture as well, and it seems like nowadays just everywhere in America it's starting to continue to happen. What was that transition like for you? What was that transition like for your kids? Did you go back to your parents' homes? Did you end up finding a new place for yourself and just have to juggle work and kids and school and all these things? How did you do that?
So for me, it was hard because of the guilt. Honestly, the guilt didn't go away for a long time. Like, I felt guilty because I didn't know if it was the right thing to do for my children. I knew it, but just seeing them sad, because honestly they were sad for a long time, having a hard time crying, that the guilt was there for a while. Luckily, my mom actually used to live down the street from me, so she was able to help me with work and juggling all of that. So thankfully, that wasn't a big struggle for me, and I was able to stay at the place that we lived and be able to afford it on my own. So we didn't have to move. He ended up moving, which made it so much easier for us. Which, I mean, we're lucky because that doesn't happen for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, at what age were your kids at this point?
My older daughter was 8, and my younger daughter was 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, through all this time, right, you're juggling being a single mom. Did you notice your weight start to go up? What was going on with your physical health?
So when I decided to leave my ex or their dad, I actually lost a lot of weight. It's like I lost his weight and I lost some weight, and I was really like thin for a while, because I feel like I was just happy, and happy because I didn't have to do anything for anybody except my kids. We could do I felt free, and that made me happy. So I lost a lot of weight. I was really, really small. I changed a little bit for sure.
Okay. So was that because you were being more active and you were having a better life, or was it because maybe you weren't eating as much? What was?
I was definitely more active. We were out more, doing more things, and we didn't. My kids are easy to cook for. Like even if it's something semi-healthy, it's still easy to cook for. So it wasn't like. I mean, I would eat at my mom's house. It was a faster lifestyle for sure.
And then so let's keep going. Let's keep going through the story. So then what happens? Right?
So then, so I was single for like a year or so, and I worked at the restaurant at that time. And I started, Caesar and I went to high school together, and I at the restaurant that I worked at, he worked there as well. And we were just talking, and, he worked in the kitchen. I was a waitress, and we would just start talking. And then one day we decided, let's go out, let's go dancing. We love dancing. So we actually went dancing. That was our first date. Let's go dancing. And we did. I was nervous because, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I've only really had one real boyfriend before, or, one real partner. So it was a big change, and I was nervous, and we ended up having a really good time and just took things kind of slow, because I have 2 children, and I wasn't going to like pressure them or throw somebody at them. I wanted to get to know him first and make sure that it was okay, or like that I really wanted something with him before I could introduce him to my children.
And then how did your kids take him? How long was this process? And then how were your kids with him?
We talked and hung out for a few months, maybe like a half year. And then after probably almost like 8 or 10 months, I brought him to my house. I would talk about him like, oh, my friend and my friend and my friend. And then all of a sudden I was like, my friend's going to come over. And my older daughter was kind of like, what about it, And it was okay. It was okay. Caesar's good. He's really good. He's patient. He knew what, like, that it's not like we're boyfriend and girlfriend, I'm not ready for that, but I want you to meet them. And so he just like talked to them, played with them, came over, hung out. And then it just happened from there. Like he would just come over more often. We would hang out with him more, go places with him. So they started to see him more. And as time like passed, he just kind of fit in perfectly, and then all of a sudden he moved in.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Caesar is a great dancer. I can testify to that.
He really is.
I was really impressed the other day.
He really is.
Okay, and so now you find a new partner, right? Your kids accept them, and then where are we at in the story right now? So you have another kid. What happens next?
Yeah. We lived together for a few years, maybe like 2, and then we decided to have a baby. And it was big news for my kids. They big news in I think mixed feelings way because they don't know what's gonna happen. They don't know how it's gonna go. And I mean, at first it was kind of when we first had the baby, it was a little hard, adjusting to having a smaller brother, and a new dad because sometimes new dads or new parents are a little bit more overprotective of their baby. So, I always made sure that I told Caesar, like, I want to have a baby with you, but don't forget that we have other children. And my daughter was still really young. She was 8, I think, at the time when we had Mateo. And it was, for me, my biggest worry was that Caesar would do something that would hurt her feelings, but he would do it unintentionally because he was trying to be protective. Right. So I always talk to him about, this is her brother, and she should be able to play with him. She should be able to touch him. She should be able to hug him, because that's how you create a connection. That's how you love somebody, by being able to show affection. And if you try to do like, no, Camila, don't touch him. Don't, that's going to make her feel like, oh, he's more important than me. Right. Make a difference between them. And I always wanted to make sure that didn't happen. Right. So he's been good about it.
So it seems like you and Caesar have great communication with each other, and you guys are both able to speak to each other very openly, and it seems like that's what's been allowing you to really move forward. And obviously now that I see it, now it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I'm really good at talking. Because I've already had a relationship where I didn't talk, I made sure that this relationship was something that I had a voice. I wanted to make sure that I had one. I wanted to make sure that he understood how I felt, how things not were, but how things we needed to work on making sure that things work for both of us, not just for one person. As long as you're happy, I'm gonna stay back. That wasn't gonna be me anymore. That's for sure. So we made I didn't know if that was gonna work for him, but it has, and we've learned to talk to each other and definitely express our feelings and not hold anything back, because that's really holding things in. It just creates more frustration. It creates more problems. And as long as I can speak my mind and he can speak his, I feel like that's a big thing for us.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like holding things in just becomes a ticking bomb.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden,
yes,
boom, 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 things come out, and they usually come out in ways that normally they wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really cool that both of you have open communication. And like I said, I think it's great. I agree with you 100%. I think you learn to understand. And one of the things that Dre and I have learned along the way, the same thing. It's really difficult for me. It was really difficult to have open conversations. I was the one that would just shut off. But I think it's great. I've learned to become more open and, not be so embarrassed of my past. And, you find when you become vulnerable, you find this other side that I don't think a lot of people expect, and it's acceptance and it's understanding. And the more you practice it, the more easier it becomes. And I think that's a great message to put out for your kids as well. Like I talk about my story about how I didn't have an open table with my parents, and that just caused me to just be, reckless and keep it all to myself. So I think that's awesome that you guys both have that, and I think your kids will really be thankful for it in the future, because this is one thing, once again, in our culture that we don't see a lot, right? We have the macho type of mentality where the guy is always right and it's always my way or no way. And it becomes really difficult for the next generation, because it's something that it continues to get passed on, because that's the behavior that we see, right? And so for both of you to be able to switch that and give a different perspective and give a different way of communication, I think that's amazing. And I think that your kids are going to be very successful, not only in school or in their careers, but also in their love life. And I think that's one of the most important things.
Yes.
Right. So let's fast forward now to the weight loss and to the weight gain and to where things start kind of going down, I guess, for you, because I know you dealt with some lupus, right?
Yeah.
And so How did that happen?
It actually happened after having my last baby. So the way lupus is you could have it for a few years and not know. It's just there, like kind of like having diabetes, having that in your life, or having parents that have diabetes. It's the same thing. I've actually could have gotten it from my mom, and she might not know, but it was. It seems like it might have always been there. Okay. But after I had my third child, a few months after, he was actually like 3 or 4 months, I started feeling not right. My hands were really hurting, and it wasn't a normal type of pain because I've had babies before. This never happened before. It's not normal, and the doctor was like, maybe your hands are just tired, maybe it's just, you're busy. Now you have 3 kids instead of 2 kids, maybe that's what it is. And that's kind of how I was like, okay, maybe it is, I'll just leave it at that. But then it got worse and worse. And all of a sudden my hand, it was really hard to move my hands. And I was like, okay, this is not normal. So I went back to the doctor, and then we did some tests, and they couldn't figure out what was going on, and to me, it was like, this isn't okay. It's not normal. I'm in a lot of pain. And for a while, I went to see a couple doctors, and then we couldn't figure it out. It was like 3 months. By the time we were able to figure it out, I actually was at a point where I couldn't really walk anymore. So if I stopped moving, I get inflamed, or I used to get inflamed, and I couldn't walk anymore. So in the middle of the night, when I had to go to the bathroom, I had to crawl to the bathroom because it was really hard to get up. It was really painful to get up because we had to adjust our bed so that I didn't have to I didn't have to climb kind of. Yeah, I had to roll out. Yeah.
How long did that last?
3 months until they figure it out.
That you had lupus?
Yeah.
So you went through a bunch of blood work and nothing, they couldn't figure it out?
They couldn't figure it out. I couldn't lift my hands. I couldn't wash my hair, brush my teeth. It was very, very hard. Probably the hardest time of my life. I dropped my baby one time. He was like 6 months. I still kept working, even though my doctor was like, you can just be on disability for now. I knew mentally I couldn't do that because I would just go crazy. Yeah. I would just go crazy thinking, what's wrong? Like, am I going to die? Am I going to leave my kids alone? What's going to happen? So I decided not to do that. And I was actually still doing house cleaning with a really close friend of mine. That's how I started working with her. And I would go to work with her, and she would do most of the work. I would come with her, and she was just so good to me, like taking, just so because she knew that I just needed to get out of the house.
Yeah, it's like you had to be there whether you could do it or not, because the moment you stay home, that's it. You're defeated.
Yeah. Because as soon as I got home, so it started out, I couldn't move. And then as soon as I started moving, it would start feeling a little bit better because there was more flow and like blood flow in my fingers and my hand, and like my feet and stuff. So then I would feel okay while I was working. I could do a little bit, but I was so exhausted. But then as soon as I got home and I sat down and I stopped moving, then everything would come back and I couldn't move. I would just sit in the sofa. And my daughter would have to take care of everything. She's so amazing. I couldn't have done it without her either. She everything. She was a mom. She was taking care of me. She helped me with the house, like absolutely everything. And it's really, really hard. Even to think about it today, I'm so grateful to have had her and Caesar. They did so much for me at that time. I mean, if I could show you what I looked like when I was swollen, you probably wouldn't even recognize me. So I am incredibly grateful for that, for sure.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That is a tough moment to go through. And it's interesting how history repeats itself, right? You became a mom at a very young age, and it seems like your daughter had to experience it, but now caring for her own mom, and that can be difficult, and you see it a lot. obviously with when you're taking care of elderly people, right? Parents who give up their entire life, their next 10 years of their life to take care of their own parents, right? And this is as an adult now for a child to be able to go through that and see their mom in pain and not know what's going on, right? And just take full responsibility, like turn on that switch and say, all right, mom, here we go. That's amazing. And you know, it's when I think of moments like that, it's really tough on the family, but I feel like it also strengthens the family so much, because if you can get through that, I mean,
Yes.
shit.
Yes.
Come on, give
Oh
me
my
anything
gosh,
you
yes.
want.
I feel like
right?
she can take on the world for sure. Yeah.
And seeing you fight like that too, right? Saying like, I might not be able to do much, but I'm gonna continue to get up and keep going and keep going. And everybody's visually seeing this, right? It's an inspiration to everybody, whether they at the moment they're looking at it or not. Right, it's a lesson, and it's something that everybody takes away. Like, hey, we're not going to stop. We keep going, whether we can or not, one foot in front of the other, and then we'll figure it out as we go. And so, how did this start to become better? Did they put you on medication? What was that like?
Yeah, we finally found a doctor in over the hill. We couldn't get an appointment here with that like that type of specific doctor, so we had to go over the hill because it was way too long, and I was way too sick to wait anymore for any other doctor close by. So Caesar took me over the hill, and the rheumatologist there did a lot of blood work, and she finally figured it out. She was like, "Oh, you have lupus," you know, and I had no idea what it was, because you don't hear it very often.
Yeah.
So I had to start figuring out what it was and what I could do. And right away, she put me on a whole bunch of medication, like really very high dose of steroids. And that was a big change too, because steroids are so powerful and very crazy. And it was really hard to be on such high drugs while we figure out what they had to put me on steroids so that I could be physically okay and continue moving and stuff. But then we had to figure out what type of medication was going to work to control my lupus. So I was testing to see what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And that's how it started with her. Then we decided, you know, she just kept giving me drugs and we couldn't figure it out. And we decided to try the rheumatologist here, because then I could finally get in. When I saw him, he did the same thing, you know, let's try this one, let's try that one, you know, and just trying. And then finally there was one that it seemed like it was okay, but I was still taking steroids. It seemed like it was okay. And then all of a sudden it dropped all of my white cells. Like I was at a very, very low, like as bad as somebody getting out of chemo, like with no protection, because we didn't know what was going on. So I had no defenses. If I had gotten sick or if I had gotten an infection or anything at that point, I could have like died. So I was really sick. I remember I felt sick, and I was like, I don't want to go to the doctor. I just, you know, I'm feeling tired. Maybe he's just tired. I couldn't breathe. I could tell something was going on with my chest. I couldn't breathe. I have to like hold my chest and hold my back. And it's like, okay, this isn't normal, you know? And then I had a fever. Once I realized I had a fever. I actually went to work that day. It's really funny because I had a fever. I went to work, and then when I was at work, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to go to the doctor. And I texted Caesar. I was like, I'm gonna go to urgent care because something's going on. You know, I'm not feeling that great. My chest really hurts, but I'm just gonna go see. But I'm not gonna stay if it's too busy, because I don't have patience for them anymore. I was always at the doctor. I was like, I don't want to be there unless I really have to. I show up, and there was a wait. And she's like, well, let me just check you to make sure that, you know, check you in. Like, they took my temperature. And then when I told them that my chest was hurting, you know, like my chest hurts. And then she took my temperature and it was really high. And then she went and told the doctor. And after that, they didn't let me go. They were like, oh no, you have to like go downstairs, get some blood work, and you can't go anywhere anymore. So I was like, it happened so fast. I was like, what? Wait, what are you talking about? I I just came because, you know, something simple. And the doctor was like, no, like some, like with the high fever and your health condition, like, we got to check it out. So he sent me downstairs to do blood work, and they got the results right away. And as soon as they noticed that I had no blood cells, no white blood cells at all, they rushed me to the emergency room in an ambulance. I texted Caesar. I was like, I'm gonna go to the emergency room in an ambulance. I was like, I don't know. They say that I can't leave. Like, I was in shock. I was like, I couldn't. What's going on? You know, I couldn't.
Just confused.
Yeah. So he's like, he rushed. The school's like down the street. He like rushed over. He's like, what's going on? And I was like, I really don't know yet. Like, I knew about the blood count, but I didn't know how dangerous it really was until I got to the hospital. And then all of a sudden they put me in this room, and then nobody was allowed to come in. And then everybody that came in had to wear a mask, and, you know, like, had to step away from me, and they weren't allowed to stay for too long, and like the whole thing. You have to wash your hands. You have to, like, all of that. It happened like that I still can't believe that it happened. And then the doctor was like, they did a whole bunch of blood work, and I had an infection in my lungs, a really bad infection, and that's why my chest was hurting. And he says, if you wouldn't have come, like, the infection would have definitely killed you. So I was there for.
It gives me the chills.
So it was very traumatizing for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, that's tough. And so how did they? So they obviously took care of you. Did you have to stay there for a few days? What was that process like? And then how did you come out of it?
Yeah, I was there for 10 days. Oh, wow. Yeah, 10 days in the same conditions. Same conditions, meaning, like, nobody could come in, it had to be a mat, like, all of that. Mm-hmm. That stayed for the whole time. And it was actually the medication that we thought was working. It like turned on me. And as soon as it, like, started leaving my body, my count came back. So it took a while. Everything was really low, and the doctor was like, no, not yet. And it was really hard on my family, on my children. It was hard on my boy. He's so little, you know. And eventually I got up enough to go home, but I had to go home and be in the same environment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so nobody could come over, and whoever did had to do the whole thing, like hand washing, masks. I had to wear a mask, you know, because they're coming from outside, kind of like COVID style.
Yeah, I was going to say, the first thing that's coming to my head is like COVID.
Yeah,
kind of
like
COVID. A long time ago.
Yeah, kind of like the same thing.
And so from the moment you found out you had lupus to this moment, how long has it been?
7 years.
What?
Yeah.
So it's been on and off, on and off, on and off.
Yeah. And
so you've been having these flare-ups consistently? Like, how do you get them once a year, twice a year? What is that?
I get them. I don't know. I think it just happens. It just happens. Like, if I have a very, it also depends on the conditions. Like, lupus is really weird. You know, sometimes when it's really hot outside and I'm in the sun all day, I'll flare up. I'll be really swollen. I can't move my hands. Yeah. You know, sometimes if I use my body too much, like if I have a really, really busy day with my hands and my body, that flares me up as well. But I don't know. It just happens. It
just happens. Huh. Interesting. And so you just went to the doctor and you got some good news.
Yes.
Right? So what was that?
So I'm finally able to say that I'm in remission, and my lupus is controlled, and I don't have to take medication. I don't have to go back to the doctor. I don't have to do blood work anymore. I just have to go back in 6 months just to make sure that I'm still okay. But otherwise, I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
Would you say, do you believe, like, obviously your lifestyle changes that have happened over the last couple of years have made a difference towards that?
Oh my God, yes. Yes, 100%. Yes. It all, like my flare-ups I've always, like, paid attention to them. It always went back to what I ate a lot. What if I drank, because I drank and I drank a lot. And that was when I was like really bad. Even though I was on medication, it didn't click to me. I was still drinking. I was still eating really bad. I was still trying to enjoy my life, because then I would pay for it like the next day, you know, what I thought was making me happy. It wasn't really making me happy, because then I would have to suffer the next day. Changing all of that, being active, eating really healthy, all of that has definitely changed the way that I feel.
And how hard was making the change? And so you entered Envision in October of 2021, right? And obviously, what was one of the reasons why you joined, first of all?
I went to the gym. I used to go to another gym, and I really liked that style of training, or I really liked that like group training and stuff. But that didn't really come back after COVID, and I couldn't find a place. I did find a place in Santa Cruz, but because I live in Watsonville, it was really hard to do that, you know, like the commute, the traffic and all of that, getting my kids home. It didn't work out. So then how did I start following Envision? I think I saw somebody that how did it happen? Oh, I know. Caesar's friend who used to train with you used to put postings. And then Caesar kept telling me about it, and that's how I started following Envision. And then I started following, seeing the program as soon as you started the group programs. And I just kept thinking, like, I want to do that. And I like called one time, and then for some reason I didn't join. And then I still saw, you know, the videos and the group classes and stuff. And then finally I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try it out. You know, it's literally what I like, and I can't lose anything with trying a free class, you know, it doesn't matter. So I tried, and I came and I checked in with Andrea. She was here for that class, and she pushed me to lift a weight that I didn't think I was going to be able to lift, and that hooked me. That hooked me. Yeah, that's it. Like, if I can push myself that much, and I have the support of somebody that doesn't even know me, then this is probably my place. Yeah.
And so you joined, right? And when you joined, we did a scan at the beginning, and so you're 187 pounds, and this is obviously because you're saying you're not eating well, you're enjoying yourself, you're partying, right? And so you joined for the reason of trying to lose weight, or just because you wanted to be part of a community? What was the main reason you joined?
I wanted to lose weight, and I wanted to be active, and I wanted to have that high, because before COVID, I actually was a little bit bigger than I am right now. But then COVID, I tried to work out in my house, but then with COVID and depression and all of those things that everybody experienced, my weight came back. And I wanted to feel that high again, like of like working out and feeling good about myself and looking good and being obsessed with myself. Like, I wanted that back. So I wanted to start working out again.
Yeah, COVID did some damage for a
sure.
good amount of people, right? Yeah. And obviously undoing those bad habits and undoing the loneliness, which I think, you know, the separation of lack of connection that we had has been very difficult for many people in the mental health side as well. And so it's taken you we're getting close to 2 years, I think, that you've been here. And over the last like 5 months, most of your weight loss has happened. Why do you think that is? Why did it not happen earlier? What was going on? Why you were here? You're working out. You obviously got really strong. You learned how to work out properly. Some of your big lifts, right? Your hip thrusting over 300 pounds. You're squatting heavy amounts of weights. I mean, we see it all in the gym. What do you think was happening back then that it didn't really click? That clicked this time.
I definitely. That's a hard one, because I was here for a long time, and I feel like I took it serious I wasn't ready to let go of food or drinking for some reason, you know, like I thought that that's what I wanted to do, because I had friends that like to drink or, you know, like to party, and I don't want to lose my friends. I don't want to lose all of that, you know, like I I like this person likes me, you know, and I don't want to lose that, you know. And they accept me the way that I am, but it wasn't really the way that I was. It is like the alcohol and all of that stuff, you know. And I think that I kind of got away from that. I started, like, I wasn't feeling great. I had my last flare up in December of this last year, and I decided that I didn't want that anymore, you know. Like, am I gonna keep doing this? I'm 37 years old. Like, I'm gonna be 40 soon, and this is how I'm gonna live the rest of my life. That's not what I want for myself. That's not what I want for my kids. That's not what I want for my family. And see, it was like, when you drink, you become another person, you know. It affected me so much. And you know, my son was like, but don't drink, but don't get drunk. And that was like, you know what, that's it. I'm not gonna do it anymore. And as soon as I stopped drinking, and as soon as I made that choice for myself, I distanced myself from people that have that lifestyle and are okay with having that lifestyle, and I'm not, you know. And those people were like, but why aren't you drinking? But what, like, you can't give up on drinking. That, you know, like, they weren't approving of something that was good for me, and I couldn't, like, it just didn't make sense. I thought you were my friend. If you know that this is good for me, why would you be against it? Like, this is what I want, you know? And I kept saying, I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to do it. And at first it was really hard because we're social people, you know, we're around people, even our family, you know, they drink. We're around people that drink all the time. And it was really, really hard. It was hard. And it's like, I don't want to feel like that. And as soon as I woke up on a Sunday and I wasn't hungover, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. I love this, you know, and it just kept going like that. And now I don't want to do it. Now it's like, I don't want to. And just changing that and my kids telling me that they don't want me to get drunk. That was just
an eye opener.
Yes.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
It takes a little boy to tell you, hey, Mom.
Yeah.
I don't like who you become.
Yeah.
That's tough, right? Because I can relate to the alcohol as well, and obviously, you guys know my story. I've dealt with alcohol problems for quite a while now. It's been a long time since college, and so, you know, when you decide to leave it, and you know, I know that you probably still have some drinks here and there. But then you do it and you're like, why did I even do that? It doesn't even feel good. And then I think the more you end up doing it over time and you leave those gaps, you start realizing, like, I don't really need this. But what was I going to say? I completely lost my point. So you stop drinking, right? And you start exercising more, and all of a sudden this weight continues to come off. What happened to your mindset? Because I feel like there's this big switch. We had this one big conversation. I remember telling you, and I said, because I visually saw it, right? I see the group of people that you surround yourself here in the gym, and I see how everybody wants to be around you, right? And I recognize leaders when I see them, and I know who the leader of each pack is. And you just carry yourself like that. You're outspoken, right? You like you said, I'm very vocal when I have to be, and I say what I feel. And that's a very strong quality to have. So what happened to you as soon as you stopped drinking, and obviously the mind clears? What happened to you?
I feel like connecting with you and having that conversation and realizing that, you know, it was just kind of like bullshit, you know. I keep giving myself like stupid excuses and bullshit, and I was like, okay, well, I want to be better for myself. I want to be better for my family. I have to leave all of that aside. So I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna start taking this seriously. You know, I'm gonna start checking in with Chris, which has helped me so much.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every single day you send your report.
So much. That's like my one thing that, like, that what's the word? The accountability with you. That definitely helped so much. And being able to, like, complete or achieve a goal, even if it's a little tiny goal. Like tomorrow, I want to be this. Tomorrow, I want to do this. I want to make sure that I get these many steps. Like having different goals, looking forward to something new, and having my kids watch me do it, having my husband watch me do it. It's all of that. Everybody's looking at me, but in a good way, not in like, how's she gonna fuck up this time? No,
Right.
like, what is she gonna do next?
Right.
And that gives me a lot of motivation to keep going. And I know that a lot of people get inspired by that, and a lot of people have told me, and that helps me keep going for sure.
Right.
But especially how happy I am and how much I've changed and how much I love myself and how much I can look at myself in the mirror, because I wasn't able to do that before. And all of that has changed, and that high is what I want to keep forever.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the biggest fear you had was letting go of your friends because of you're going to let go of alcohol. And obviously that was a difficult moment, right? You have these people who probably don't mean anything negative towards you, but I think they're also in a dark place and they don't quite see it yet. And so we talk about the crab effect, right? Crabs trying to pull themselves out of a bucket. When you have a crab trying to come out of a bucket, they're all going to pull them down. And I think when people are in a dark place, they tend to do that because, they just don't understand why you're trying to come out of there, right? And it's difficult for them, and they've probably failed a few times. And so sometimes we push our insecurities out to other people. But what happens through that moment, even though it's difficult, you tend to start filtering people out. And then all of a sudden you start realizing, oh, maybe I wasn't paying attention to these people that were supporting me the whole entire way. And now all I'm getting is positive energy. And this positive energy just keeps going and keeps going. And then you start having those little wins, right? And I noticed it when we obviously have the star thing on when you write your numbers and you get stars every time you hit a new PR, right? I noticed the amount of excitement that you got every time you beat your next PR and your next PR, and you were just chasing that PR. And that was one of the things that triggered me. I was like, okay, this person needs instant wins right away, right? So even if I can get her to lose a half a pound this week, she's going to celebrate it, and everything has to be celebrated on the spot. She needs wins. And so that's why we started the smaller habit type of, instead of looking at the big picture, it's like, let's get some daily wins. Let's set something that's realistic, something that's achievable next week. And because I know that's just going to keep it going. And if it's one of those things where, well, if I can lose 2 pounds, why can't I lose 3? If I can run 6 miles, why can't I run 13, right? And so that is what we're currently seeing right now. And so you did the Spartan race, right? And so you did it last year. You tested the waters and you enjoyed something that was outside from the gym. You did it this year, and then so you have more races coming up. What's going on?
Yeah, I have the next one, the smaller one, and then I'm gonna do the really big one. I'm gonna do the wharf to wharf, and I'm like always looking for more things to challenge myself, like things that scare me, because this, like, the high you get from being scared and actually achieving something like that it's really cool. It's really fun. So I want to keep that in my life.
So getting on stage is another one?
Oh, yes. That's like my biggest thing. Like, that's what motivates me every day. It just, I like started following people that like, I want to compete in a bodybuilding competition. And I really, really want it. Now that I'm here, I know that I can do it. And I'm getting so close compared to how I was before, that getting to that moment is what keeps me going for sure. And I started like reading into it and looking at pictures and looking at people that had like transformations, kind of like me too. Like, they were bigger and then all of a sudden they're bodybuilding. And it's like, if they can do it, I can totally do it.
Yeah, 100%. And, it comes down to who you surround yourself at the end of the day, right? Like I said, you filtered some people out, and doesn't mean that maybe you don't talk to them, which I'm sure. One thing that has helped me has been very selective where I spend time with those people. If I know that these are people that love to drink, I will physically, if they want to meet, if they want to hang out, I would put them in a place where there's no alcohol involved, right? And so being very selective, and then that's how you know if this person actually wants to have a relationship or wants to have a friendship, then that person will make the time. If you don't want to come to a coffee shop and have some coffee with me, or go on a hike or go on a walk, then it's probably not the right place. And then we start kind of putting that away for a while. I had to go through a lot of that too. Um, and then now with the races, right? You're just keep going. It's one foot in front of the other, right? Everything has a preparation. You've overcome so much that you have to keep setting new goals. And once you achieve the bodybuilding, once you hit your trifecta for the Spartan, hey, go for the next one. Go for 13 miles. Run a marathon. Go do more things, because it's those things that are going to keep you going forward. And it's like I told you before, you have to see yourself as an athlete. Otherwise, if you always look at exercise as it owes you for you to lose weight, like I will exercise and these weights owe me weight loss, it's going to be too frustrating. But if you become an athlete, then your body will transform into an athletic body, because you will physically be doing those athletic things, right? And it's all about who you surround yourself with. And like I told you, if you don't want to lose your friends, then you turn your friends into athletes as well.
Yeah.
And that's just how you do it. And they'll be grateful. They're going to love you for what you helped them achieve, because you've obviously been through so much right now in the last 20 years, that I'm sure a lot of your friends are also going through a lot. And so all I'm going to ask you is to make some time for them, and have an open table for them to come to you and have these open conversations with them. Because I think the moment when we had ours, I saw the big shift in you. And, if you can give that to somebody else and everybody that surrounds you, I mean, what's going to happen in the next 5 years? And I say 5 years because it's going to take time, but you're going to enter your 40s. A lot of your friends are going to enter your 40s, and you guys are going to be living life. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to say? Any message that you'd like to put out to maybe women out there that maybe have a similar story, or anybody who's just going in a dark place right now?
Sure. I didn't think about this.
Let it come out.
Definitely, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's an everyday struggle. It's an everyday fight. It's a forever fight, especially if you have been obese before, or overweight before. It's gonna be forever, because I feel like I'm still the bigger girl that wants to eat all this food all the time, and I'm still the girl that wants to eat chocolate, that wants to eat ice cream, that wants to have all of those things. So I definitely have to work on it every day. And I know that now. I know that it's forever. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and have all the food that I want. If I want it, I have to keep fighting for it. If I have to let go of the things that I thought were making me happy for this one thing that I know that is going to make me happy. So I have to, I just know that anybody can do it, as long as you are committed to yourself, which is the number one thing. You make yourself a priority. And I used to think that wasn't the way it should be, because I have children, I have a husband, I have to take care of them. But if I don't take care of myself, I know we hear this all the time, but if I don't take care of myself every day, I am not a good mom. I am not a good wife. So I've learned that as long as I'm happy, I'm going to make them happy. And I 100% know that now. So just keep working on it. The results will come. They won't come as fast as you want them to, because I wanted to wake up skinny the next day, and that's not the way it works. Whatever is actually worth it is going to cost you. So I just keep going. Keep going. If anybody can do it.
Very, very powerful message right there. Well, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and
thanks for having me.
Good luck in your next race. Good luck, and we're gonna hit 140 by the time your birthday comes in August 13th.
Yes.
Right? We're already on scheduled, so let's just keep crushing it and keep inspiring other people.
Yes. Thank you.
Boom.